Chapter 10, Lesson 4. This is the last lesson in this chapter, and you're going to find that within this lesson, there's a lot of vocabulary. So I'm going to go through this as quickly and timely as I can, but keeping in mind that a lot of this vocabulary is going to be really important that you understand. The last part of this is understanding what's on a label, nutrition basics, what's on a food label, and then getting into like food allergies and intolerances and foodborne illnesses, etc. So on this first slide is we're looking at nutrition label basics. Among other things, the food label is going to list. Looking at nutrition label is really important. It's a really good skill to have. But some things that you're going to see on that label is possibly the name of the food product, the amount of food in that package. So a lot of times it's also going to tell you how many servings are in that package as well. The name and address of the company that makes, packages, and distributes the product. This is important, so in case there's ever a recall, something's wrong with the food, etc., you have some contact info. The ingredients that are in the food, keeping in mind that the ingredient that is listed first is the ingredient that is in the largest abundance, and the nutrition facts panel, which is going to provide information about the nutrients found in the food. We look at nutrition. Ingredients in a food appear on the label in descending order by weight. I already mentioned that earlier. The ingredient that makes up the largest share of the weight will come first. Now, food additives, these are substances added to a food to produce a desired effect. Maybe some of the things that a food additive will do is it will help keep the food safe for a longer period of time. It maybe will boost its nutrient content. It might improve the taste, the texture, the appearance, and some concern experts because of their possible side effects on the body. Example, aspartame. It's a sugar substitute that is used a lot of times in like your diet sodas. And olestra, which is the fat substitute. And there's been a lot of conversations out there that we might look at a diet soda and think that that might be better for us because it doesn't have any calories. But there's a lot of research out there that might suggest that some of the sugar substitutes, such as aspartame, might actually cause some long-term consequences on the body. When you're looking at a nutrition facts panel, it's really important that we understand that the first thing you're going to see is you're going to see the serving size. So if I open up a bag of pretzels, a bag of potato chips, I take out a frozen pizza, I need to understand, one, what is a serving size, and then number two, how many servings are going to be in that entire container. Some of us might be able to sit down and eat an entire bag of potato chips. Some people might open up a frozen pizza and eat the entire frozen pizza. It's important to understand that when you look at the nutrition facts panel, the information you're seeing is based on one serving. So if you eat 2 servings, 3 servings, if you eat the entire package and you find out there's 10 servings in that package, you obviously need to look at the information and multiply by 10. So the other things you're going to see is how many calories are going to be in that serving. And then you're going to see the next block is you're going to see all the nutrients that are there. And those nutrients are typically listed in grams or milligrams. Any important vitamins or minerals, and then the percent daily value. And a lot of times that's going to be based on a 2,000 calorie diet, which is the average American diet. Some claims. Now here's where we're going to get into a lot of vocabulary. When you see something, a food item that's listed free, fat-free, etc., it contains none or an insignificant amount of a given component. When you see something marked low, it means it can be eaten regularly without exceeding your daily limits for fat, saturated fat, cholesterol, sodium, or calories. And the last one that we might see, we see a lot of times like on a lot of the yogurt that we might eat, is light. And that must contain 1/3 fewer calories, 1/2 the fat, or 1/2 the sodium of the original version. So a lot of times in the foods that we're eating right now is we're going to see free, we're going to see low, we're going to see light. It's really important that we understand that at the end of the day, remember when it comes to controlling weight, managing weight, etc., it's all about calories. So just because a food item might say fat-free, it doesn't necessarily mean somebody could eat as much as they want, because a lot of times when the fat is taken out, they might add sugar or something else to add back some of that flavor, and it still might be high in calories. Some other claims that we're going to see. Reduced. The food contains 25% fewer calories or 25% less of a given nutrient than the original version. We might see high. This provides at least 20% of the daily value for a vitamin, mineral, protein, or fiber. So a lot of times you might see something marked, hey, this is high in fiber, this is high in vitamins and minerals, etc. It has to exceed at least 20% of the daily value. A good source of, this provides 10 to 19% of the daily value for a vitamin, mineral, protein, or fiber. You see this a lot of times on cereal boxes, as this would be a great source of, etc. And then the last one would be healthy. Healthy must be low in fat and saturated fat, cholesterol and sodium, and provide at least 10% of the daily value for vitamin A, vitamin C, iron, calcium, protein, or fiber. So as you can see, the government has really set forth some really strict guidelines that food companies must adhere to. That way we as consumers aren't being misled. So a lot of nutritional claims out there, but it's important that you understand some of the vocab behind those nutritional claims. Now, organic. A lot of us have heard how important organic is or how good organic is. If something is labeled organic, there are some requirements that have to be met. One, they have to be produced without the use of certain agricultural chemicals. So a lot of times we're using herbicides and pesticides to maybe help the food grow, to help keep the insects away from the food, etc. If something is organic, once again, it has to be produced without the use of certain agricultural chemicals. The next one is it cannot contain genetically modified ingredients, and a lot of our foods right now are genetically modified, so it has to be 100% natural, and it cannot be subjected to certain types of radiation. And a lot of times companies might use radiation as a way to kill bacteria and things like that. So once again, must be produced without the use of chemicals, cannot contain genetically modified ingredients, and cannot be subjected to certain types of radiation. Now, we're going to see this in a lot of our food labeling right now, and there's a lot of misconceptions out there or myths out there about can I still eat this if it's past the due date, etc. So when you look at open dating, the first one that we have on here is sell-by dates. This is the last day on which a store should sell a product. It doesn't mean that's the day that it expires. It's just the last day that a store should be able to sell that product. So once again, that's the sell-by date. Use by or expiration dates. This is the last day in which a product's quality can be guaranteed. You could still eat the food after the expiration date. Many people choose not to because they're just not quite certain. The flavor obviously might be affected, the quality might be affected, but this is the last day that the actual company and store can guarantee the quality of it. If you were to open something up and consume something before the expiration date and it was sour, it was rotten, whatever, you can take it back and you're going to get your money back or they're going to replace your food item. After that expiration date, they will not or they cannot. A freshness date, this is the last date on which a product is actually considered fresh. And then the very bottom it says pack dates. This is the day in which a food was processed or packaged. So when you look at a food item, we're going to see a lot of dates on there. It's just really important that you understand what you're looking at. Are you looking by a sell-by date, an expiration date, a freshness date, or a pack date? But to make a long story short, you as a consumer can eat a food past the sell-by date or the expiration date. Just be aware that it's not guaranteed that it's going to be high quality or that it may be safe. Now we're going to get into some food safety, looking at foodborne illnesses. Every year you see there's about 76 million Americans that become ill as a result of foodborne illnesses. And the biggest reason why is we're not cooking the food properly, we're not washing the food properly, or maybe we're using utensils and we're sharing utensils between different types of food and that's carrying bacteria. Some different sources, as you can see, might be Salmonella or E. coli, and there's viruses out there, the Norwalk virus and Norwalk-like type viruses. How foodborne illness occurs, some common symptoms to let you know whether or not maybe you have had some food poisoning or you do have an illness, is there might be some cramping, and typically that's going to be in the abdominal area. There might be diarrhea. Just because someone has a cramps or someone has one episode of diarrhea doesn't necessarily mean somebody was subjected to a foodborne illness. But if the cramping doesn't go away and the diarrhea doesn't go away, and this is probably shortly after you consume some sort of food, there is a high likelihood that an illness has occurred. There might be nausea, vomiting, and a high fever as well. If the following symptoms are present, it's recommended that you consult a doctor. If you have a high fever that's higher than 101.5 degrees, prolonged vomiting or diarrhea, blood in the stool, signs of dehydration including a decrease in urination, dry mouth and throat, and feeling dizzy when standing. If once again any of these symptoms are present, it's really important that you consult the doctor. Now, how do we keep food safe to eat? There's a process out there that we use for a lot of our dairy and our milk and whatnot. It's called pasteurization. This is where you're going to treat a substance with heat to kill or slow down the growth of the pathogen. So a lot of times after milk is produced by the cows and whatnot, it's taken to the company, and what they'll do is a process where they're going to heat that milk up to a very high temperature in hopes to destroy any bacteria or anything that might be otherwise in that milk. Clean. It's really important that we wash for a minimum of 20 seconds and dry our hands frequently. This includes cooking surfaces and utensils, so always washing your utensils, always washing cutting boards and whatnot, always washing the countertops that you've been cooking on, washing your hands, etc. Because when you go from one food to the next food, etc., there's a process called cross-contamination, and this is the spreading of pathogens from one food to another. It's important that you separate your foods, store and keep foods away from each other. So put them in separate containers, separate baggies, etc. Cook, heat foods to a high enough temperature to kill pathogens. A lot of times when you look at a cookbook, especially when you're cooking meats, it will tell you what the temperature of that meat is going to be to let you know if it is done. A lot of us in this day and age probably have a meat thermometer, something that we have where we can stick that into the meat to make sure that it is that it is safe to eat. And then chill. Refrigeration slows down the growth of harmful bacteria. So once we've decided that we are going to maybe quote unquote have a leftover or keep something for a later date, it's important that we chill it and get it in the refrigerator as soon as possible. Food sensitivities. This is very common. Some people will have food allergies. Lactose is one that's very, very common, but this is a condition which the body's immune system reacts to substances in food. Symptoms might range from mild to life-threatening. Some people might have the hives, they break out in something. Other people can go in a serious condition called anaphylactic shock, sometimes also known as anaphylaxis. And this is where the throat can swell, the tongue can swell, airway closes up, and the person loses the ability to breathe. Some people develop a food intolerance. This is a negative reaction to food that doesn't involve the immune system. More common than a food allergy. So maybe somebody might get constipated, they might get diarrhea. Something happens to the immune system. They're not allergic to the food, but the food just doesn't necessarily settle very well within their system. Some common foods that people were going to have sensitivities to. Eggs is very common, peanuts, tree nuts, soybeans, wheat, fish, shellfish. There's obviously other sensitivities out there, but these tend to be the most common. And what you also see is a lot of schools in today, especially elementaries and middle schools, where students will bring treats to school to celebrate their birthday or whatever. A lot of schools are shying away from that for fear that there might be students in the classroom that might have an allergy or a sensitivity, and they want to do all that they can do to prevent the possible outbreak of an anaphylactic shock case. The symptoms of food allergies are going to vary. Could vary from skin irritation such as rashes, hives, or itching, or it could also be gastrointestinal symptoms such as nausea, vomiting, or diarrhea. And that's it with Chapter 10. Thank you.